Howdy folks, Timber Drifter here. I feel like I'm talking too loud. The woods are very quiet. I don't want to use my normal tone, but anyway, I'm out for a bit of a hike for the purpose of exercise, but also looking for morel mushrooms, checking to see if there's anything interesting going on in the woods. I've already been out for a while. I've been around a clearing all the way around it. Haven't seen any mushrooms. Seen several ruffed grouse. It's not grouse season. I just enjoy seeing them. They're a pretty bird, and they're kind of goofy. Yeah, funny. So what makes me think I might find some morels actually has to do with the grouse. So whenever I see them roadkill this time of year, I always stop and check to see if they are edible. Now, usually it's male grouse trying to fight cars, I think. And oftentimes they just get hit in the head, and that's all that's damaged. And if it's early in the morning, hasn't got warm out yet, might as well take it home and eat it. So I saw one and I stopped, and it was busted open already. So obviously not something I want to eat. But its stomach contents had what I am fairly certain are small pieces of morel mushroom in there, little chunks. You know, like about what the size of a grouse's beak would pull out of a mushroom. So, pretty sure that's what they were. And also the false morels are up. So that's a pretty good indication that morels might be around. Now, here in this area, I've never had much luck finding morels. I think the most I've ever found was 4 or 5 in one spot. Takes a few days of that to get enough for a meal, right? Where I used to live up in the Northern Highland American Legion State Forest, I had a couple of spots where I could do pretty well. If I caught the weather just right, just the right amount of moisture and early enough in spring. But this area where I live now, it's very rare for me to find them. And I've noticed that they're either around oak trees, in people's yards, grassy areas around oak trees, or I've found them near where there are spruce thickets, like what I have here, with some grass, and where also false morels pop up. So I thought I might just walk around and take a look here, but haven't found anything yet. Seen some false morels, but no the edible variety. So anyway, I've made a number of videos over the last few days trying to talk about a couple of different things, and I keep saying things in a strange way, which that happens sometimes. I think I'm being perfectly clear, but I rewatched the video I just made and realized I completely bumbled what I was trying to say, and it wouldn't make sense. Which happens because I'm the only one here. I'm talking to my own reflection on the camera. So there isn't anyone here asking me to clarify what I just babbled about. So try to talk about a couple of those things. Nothing important really. It's the day-to-day things that interest me. For instance, I find knives, usually in parking lots. I've probably found a dozen knives in the last 10 years in parking lots. Typically folding knives, usually used. I think people flex, squat down to get into their cars and the pocket knives fall out of their pockets. I've also found several loaded magazines of the firearm variety in parking lots. And of course, lighters and packs of cigarettes and things like that. I always encourage people when you're walking past the litter of empty packs of cigarettes, always kick that pack. I've found cash in cigarette packs a lot. Sometimes you find other things that you not want to pick up also. But anyway, so I was at the grocery store the other day, a few days back, and I saw a plastic bag that had obviously been run over, kind of rippling in the breeze but staying put, which told me there was something inside of it. So I kicked it, and it had a blister pack in it that had been run over. And what was in there was a cold steel knife, a mini tack. It's not bent or broken or anything. The handle is a bit scuffed. Obviously, they don't sell these at the grocery store, but there's a Tractor Supply on the other side of the parking lot. And I went in there and looked around, but I didn't see them selling cold steel products. Maybe they do. I just didn't see it. So anyway, I had a lucky find. And although this is not really the style of knife I typically like to carry, I've, in the last couple of days, I've come to like this quite a lot. The steel is 8CR13MOV, which isn't a particularly exciting steel, but it's good enough. Good enough. The knife is quite thin, and surprisingly, it's flat ground rather than hollow ground. You can see the... it didn't come as sharp as I would expect a cold steel knife to come, but that's fine. I sharpen knives. I'm not worried about it. And the sheath is nice. It's very solid. Doesn't rattle. It's just enough tension, and they provided a spot for you to pop it loose with your thumb. So I'm just gonna keep wearing this and using it for a while. And it came with the breakaway chain. I had to cut about 7-8 inches off of it. But yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. That's one of the best knife finds I've had in a while. I do like the design of this knife. That spur there, they call it a sub hilt. That causes the knife to be very secure in the hand. Obviously, it's a minimalist handle, and that sub hilt or spur really makes up for that. I don't know what kind of bird that was flying so slow. So anyway, that was an exciting find. I usually don't find new in the package knives, and although this one had been run over, it's not damaged. I thought I spotted a morel over there. It's not. These little princess pines. I'll show you one later. The little princess pines that are dead among the other green princess pines have the shape of a morel mushroom until you get close to them. Anyway, let me pause and we'll be right back. So, this is a pipe smoking channel after all, or at least it's a half pipe smoking channel. So I'm going to talk about pipes and tobacco briefly. So I'm switching to my summer blends now. I spent most of a month only smoking C&D Orion's Arrow in my claw, meerschaum, and a couple of clay pipes. So I've only been getting back to smoking briars in the last week, really. And it's hot out. It's not hot today, but it's been hot. I'm switching to, for now, I finished off a partial jar of, what is that blend called? The 400, Newminster 400 Superior Navy Flake. Finished off a jar of that. I had about this much left in there. So now I opened the other day a jar of the 507C Virginia Slices, and this is from 420. I think that's what that says. I rubbed the marker off. Could be a 4, could be an 8. Either way, it's got a few years on it. The smell was magnificent when I opened the jar. It still smells good, but I wish there was smell-o-vision. I would sure love to share that smell with you. But you know, if there was smell-o-vision, people would misuse that. But there is none of that citrus flavoring that they use on this stuff, which is a pretty light anyway. There's none of that I smell after a few years in the jar. And I've got another jar that's a bit older than this one that I'm planning to let that one go 10 years. And I've got quite a bit of this stuff, so, because I like it. But in my opinion, it does benefit from 6 months to 3 years of age. Very fresh smelling, which is an odd thing to say about something that's been in a jar for years. It smells like Fig Newtons, kind of. It has that kind of figgy smell. All right, now if I actually find any morels, which I think is unlikely at this point considering I've been out for hours already, I keep my poncho in my pack in this mesh bag. This mesh bag has a number of purposes that it gets pressed into service for, but mushroom picking is one because the spores fall through that mesh. So if I do find anything, the poncho goes in the pack and I'll use the bag. Wonderfully smooth tobacco. Shall we wander a bit? Oh, good. That's what I wanted to do, too. I suppose you can probably make out that this is a bit of a clearing here. There's more of it on the other side of this low hill. So, these are princess pines. And when they're dead, they look like that, which from a distance, my mind tends to mistake for a morel mushroom. And since I haven't seen a morel mushroom yet, my mind is not calibrated to finding them. And I know that's not just me, because I hear other people say that too. When they're hunting morels, they need to find one. And then it's like you can see the rest of them. All of the ones you've been missing. The grouse were out here. Not in the grass. Get back in the trees there. I imagine they're munching on buds and catkins. So, in a month, this will be ferns anywhere from knee-high to shoulder-high. Currently, they're still pressed down from the snow, and they're just starting to come back up. Starting to see a few little fiddleheads. And of course, the fiddleheads are tasty as well. Aha, there's a false morel. See if I can show you that one. Well, some people say those are edible. You might get away with eating it without any problem, but I don't think they're edible. So I've already kind of hunted through all these woods here. It's all nice and mossy in there. It smells incredible in there. It smells like some kind of candy that I've never had before. Just a lovely, sweet smell. And of course, when the breeze blows from out here in the open, where the sun's been shining on the dead grass and ferns, it smells kind of like a hayfield a little bit, which is a pleasant smell as well. Pretty dry out. The ground is wet, but it's been dry the last few days, so kind of crunchy dry. And everything just still looks smashed from the weight of the winter of snow. This spot here looks like where I would expect if I was going to find morels here, I would expect to find them in a spot like this. Now, I don't know why I think that, if that is memory telling me that this is where I should find them. It's certainly not instinctual. So it must be memory. But it's grassy here. There's some moss on the ground, so there's plenty of moisture. There's the occasional birch and spruce and balsam fir. And I would expect to see morels somewhere like right along here. But I don't. Maybe because my mind is still blind to them. Or maybe because they're just not here. Very likely the second one. Something's been doing a bit of digging here. See that? That looks like the work of a skunk to me. Oh, there's another false morel. Little bitty one. Yeah, this spot just looks like if I was going to find them, they'd be here. So cool back of the trees here. All the moss. And except for my crunching pine needles and the sound of gnats in the distance, not right here, but I can hear them. Probably right at the edge of the sunlight, I imagine. No mosquitoes. Can't hear any cars driving by, and we're not far from the road. It's just right over there. No planes. I can hear a squirrel working at something over that way. The flutter of a bird's wing behind me. It's nice. All I could hear earlier was planes and cars driving by. It's nice when it's quiet. So no morels today, but as I said, I've never been particularly successful finding morels in this area. Chicken in the woods mushroom on oak stumps, that's another deal. I find that. Last year I saw a lot of a mushroom I've never collected before. I think it's called bear's tooth. Something like that. I didn't collect any. I'm hoping to see some this year, but you don't see that one every year. Or I don't. And I've got a pamphlet that's got good color pictures and descriptions of edible mushrooms, in addition to all the mushroom books that I've got. But that pamphlet is more useful to me. So, planning on having a mushroom hunting year, at least to some degree. See that quartz? Where's my hand at? Right there. Quartz rock and that moss. A bit of water over here. See that? It's all covered in pollen. This is unusual. This pond is typically just a depression, not a pond. Maybe it'll be a little muddy in the center, but it typically is not holding water like that. And of course, it'll be a hell of a breeding ground for mosquitoes here pretty quick. But not right now. Anyway, this video has gone on long enough. So, there's a grouse right over there. I'm going to be able to get that in. No, I can't see it. It's right there somewhere. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not flying off. So I'll be quiet. Get outside.